Welcome to Mam's Talk, where Mam's Talk Survivor. I'm Kay, the game maker and host of Survivor Skaneateles, and with me is my co-host and contestant, Jess. How are you feeling about this episode 6? We're in the merge. What's going
Yeah,
through your head?
it was an okay episode. I thought it was a little bit of a slog after the epic episode 5. But the game is definitely afoot here. And I'm enjoying the merge game that's happening so far.
Yeah, definitely less chaotic than the first one. I mean, than last episode in terms of like strategy. But there's some interesting things happening, so I'm excited to talk about them.
Yeah.
And we will have Max with us. Hopefully he's recovered since from the wildfires.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, I mean, I have no idea.
We have no
We
idea.
haven't I haven't spoken to him since.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things clearly didn't end well for our relationship with him. We don't even know what his deal is
I
right
mean, he
now.
might be zooming in from a hospital bed. Who knows?
Hooked up to a respirator. Could
Yeah. So
be.
I'm really excited to see where he's at, like, not just like mentally, but like physically. Like where's his health? You know?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll ask him about
And we'll ask.
that.
But without further ado, I think we should get into the actual episode here.
Yeah.
So we do get a little more context about like
Hmm.
why Caroline maybe didn't play her idol.
Yeah.
There's a conversation with you and Allie.
Yeah, it was that vote was so crazy. I feel like you can hear how like insane we both sound in this conversation, like trying to figure out exactly what went down because like it's really not, and especially in the footage from the last episode, it's really not clear what's happening like by the time we get to tribal. But yeah, I guess it was just that like Caroline had pulled Dylan and Allie aside at the last second. Oh, and we're like, you guys put votes on Grant, and then that way, like, I'll play my idol and then Grant will go. Like that was like I guess the plan by the end. But then just in case Grant used his fake idol, then they put votes on then Max and Caroline put votes on me. So they were doing their own split vote security situation and it
Yeah.
was happening from both sides. Just with the same 3 people getting votes, which is interesting. So but yeah, me and Allie we're linking. I say a very funny, so I guess Grant's trustworthy after he voted for Caroline.
Yeah.
As if that fixes everything that just happened.
Hmm. I'm also liking the food
Oh,
in
I
this
am just
conversation.
fully speaking with my mouth
You're
full of
just
food.
shoving a turkey sandwich down
I
your
mean, I
mouth,
was
your throat.
starving.
Yeah.
Let's
You're
also
like,
take note.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea.
Let's also take note of the very cute sandwich bags that are used to wrap all of the sandwiches. They're very nice. They have little apples on them. And I did make all those sandwiches. So, I mean, not
Yeah.
me. It was a
Well,
group effort.
yeah, don't take credit.
Well, I just didn't.
Yeah, thank you.
It was an assembly line with me, Max, and Caroline, but I did wrap them in the cute little packaging. So,
Appreciate your
yeah.
assistance. Uh, and this is what people come here for.
Yes, yes. The behind the scenes.
Who made the
Who made the
sandwiches?
sandwiches?
It's really important. We both went to Costco.
We did a lot of thinking about like dietary concerns and
Hmm.
what kind of bread we should get, what kind of cheese we should get. It was a big to do.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm sure you guys really want to hear about it, but we do have to move on. I'm so sorry. Yeah, if you really want to know what cheese we use, let us know. Maybe we'll address it. Um, but yeah, we get you and Allie's perspective on it,
Hmm.
and also we get like a Grant and Dylan Max perspective.
Yes.
Max is like very much like, oh, she had an idol, like he's really pushing it, but I
Right.
feel like people are not really buying it.
Yeah, I mean, me and Allie are like, well, if she didn't play it, she obviously didn't have one. That was our takeaway from that because we just can't understand why there would be any world in which she wouldn't have played it, you know? Like
Yeah.
I understand that perspective because I feel like everyone was really expecting her to play it.
Yeah. And then like Grant is trying to like explain his like fake idol play. Again, I
Yeah.
still don't really understand it.
Yeah, I actually meant to rewatch this conversation after
Dylan's
our initial
impressed
watch
though.
through. Yeah, well, Dylan's impressed, but in like probably a bad way. Like he's like, you did, in like a I'm scared of you kind of way. He goes,
You did.
you did.
His eyes get really big. It's really cute. With his vape also. He goes,
Yes.
you did?
But yeah, honestly, I'm not really following the
Yeah.
situation with the fake idol play, but you know, whatever. Because like it's funny because Grant's like, yeah, no, I knew it was fake, and Dylan's like, it's not adding up to me why you played that if you knew it was fake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Whatever.
I can't presume to know what Grant's thinking at any given moment, so I won't
Yeah, I
try.
think his brain just works differently
Yeah.
than mine, than
Hmm.
yours, other
Yeah.
people. But it's working for him so
Hmm.
far,
Yeah.
so we'll give him a little clap.
Yeah.
But yeah, is there anything else that happened before the challenge? Not
No,
much.
no, I
Allie
don't think
wants
so.
Ella gone, and you're kind of like,
Oh,
Max voted for me,
right,
so
right, right. I'm on the Max train. I was pretty solid on that the entire time that we were debating. But I do consider Grant when Allie brings it up. Um, but I definitely didn't feel like Grant going was gonna be best for my game. I just didn't really see a world in which Max and I like merge forces here. You know, like I didn't think that he was wanted to work with me at all.
yeah, it is interesting because later when you guys are talking, it does seem kind of like he's willing to work with you. I think if
Yeah,
you had like tried, I think he probably would have
it
bit.
does. Yeah, I guess it was just like he was a really big unknown for me.
Mm,
And like yes, I do think that he was mostly swayed by Caroline to write my name down at the tribal council, but I just felt like it was like an easy vote for me to be like, oh well, Max voted for me, so I'll vote for him. Like it didn't like end any relationships that I had in the
yeah,
game for me to get
yeah.
rid of Max, you
No, that
know.
makes sense for sure.
As
But
far as like Max versus other people, I think I had a lot more previously laid groundwork with other people since like I literally hadn't spoken to Max in the game until that one conversation that we filmed,
yeah,
you
it
know?
almost just seemed like in some sense it was like a buffer vote just to like bide time
Yeah,
for a lot of people
I
until
think that's
like the
true.
next round. Because like it didn't really do a lot for
Hmm.
most people's game.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was more
Because he
like
was
the
on an as
most.
Ali says, he's on an
Mhm.
island.
Yeah, and then that's why I also like I am hearing what Allie's saying in our conversation, and I'm like, well, it wouldn't really do anything in the game to get rid of him because he has no allies right now.
Right.
So it's really just like the most inconsequential vote you can do, you know.
Yeah.
But like, whereas Grant is like clearly running around doing XYZ. But I felt like Grant was still an open door for me in
Hmm.
that way because he did vote for Caroline, so I wasn't like really ready to like close that yet.
How much do you think the fact that he had that clue contributed to him being gone?
What? Oh, Max?
Because I think that, like some people had drawn a conclusion that he
Yeah.
might have had an idol because Caroline didn't play
Yes.
it and he had the clue.
Yeah.
So,
I think that specifically for Ella, that was a huge reason why she wanted him gone. Like she
hmm.
was not sure if she was convinced he had found whatever was hidden with his advantage,
Yeah. Well, he
I
also was
think.
being so like lax
Yeah.
about it. Like if he hadn't
Yeah.
have found it, a reasonable person would probably
Hmm.
be looking. So I
Yeah.
probably also would have been like, well, he probably already found it because he's not looking for it.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
can't
because he was just
remember.
walking around like,
Mhm. I can't remember if I thought that he had it, but I definitely was. I mean, I bring it up also in this episode again. I'm like, Andy had a potential advantage.
right.
So it's just like, yeah, just an easy. It's one of those things where like if you don't know who to vote for, the person who like voted for you last time potentially has an idol. Like it just is easy to like
Yeah.
zone in on that person, in like a kind of like non-wave making way, which can be
Yeah.
good sometimes.
Understood. So yeah, I think it's time to transition to the
Yeah.
challenge. hide and
The
go veto.
challenge. Oh yeah, I was
I
so
mean,
excited
this
about
took up a
this.
lot of time. I don't know that it's really clear
Mhm.
just how much time this
Oh,
took.
it's not clear at all because it took so much time.
It took
Like
like
so
over an
much
hour.
time. It was like a really long time. It felt longer because I was having the worst time doing it. Not that you didn't do a good job, but oh my
Mm.
God, we couldn't find those
I
flags for
mean,
anything.
I definitely, looking back, I would have closed the perimeter a little
Mm.
bit and where you could. I thought that it would be more obvious where the flags were because, I think the other part is like allowing people to like put them in the tent was a bad
Yeah,
idea.
I agree. That was a bad idea. And then it was also like people were rooting through like each other's stuff, and it was just like it was like people were stepping with their dirty feet on people's sleeping
Mm.
bags and stuff. It was
Mm.
just kind of a nightmare all around. But oh my God, like we did like so many rounds, and then I obviously got eliminated really fast. So
Yeah.
I like start doing like
By your sister.
my sister, it's my
My, it's my
sister.
sister.
And I like went to go like do like some cleaning of like whatever like stuff needed to be cleaned around, and then like someone calls me back and is like, we're all looking now, and I was like, but I'm
Yeah.
out.
Well, it
Like
just it needed to be done. I was like, I'm gonna start
uh-huh.
looking. Like, I was like, all hands are on deck. If you're out of the gate, like, I think Santino, so Surratt was there. I was like, let's get looking, everybody.
Let's
Not
get looking,
actually.
everyone.
To be
Yeah,
clear, they
yeah,
did not actually
yeah.
contribute to the looking, but we just needed all hands on deck, you
I
know?
mean, a funny moment that happened, I remember between me and you was I was like, what's going on? And you were like, what did you say? You said like you said something. You were like, everyone's looking for flags or something, but
Oh,
it was like
yes.
less clear what you were
No,
meant. What
I
did
I
you
do
say?
remember this because I think my patience has started to run a little
Hmm.
thin.
But you're such a
And
patient person.
anyway, because it's a challenge was taking a long time,
Mm,
and I didn't want like a repeat of the day before. We were very much running behind.
yeah.
So I just was like, everyone come in and whatever, and you were just like, what? And I like just didn't have the like patience to explain why. So I was just like, everyone's looking for flags, and you were like, but like, am I back in? I don't remember what you asked, but you
Right.
just
I
were
was
like,
like, can I win? I was like, can I win now?
and
Like,
I
am
just was
I
like,
like
everyone's looking for flags. And you
I
just
was
kept
like,
asking every question you asked, you were trying to get some sort of clarifying, like, whatever information. And I just kept being like, everyone's looking for flags. Everyone's looking for flags.
I was
Ask
like,
ask me another question. Everyone's looking for flags.
I think I had to ask Allie why we were all looking for flag because you wouldn't tell me.
I
It was like, what's
was like,
going
stop
on?
asking me a question because everyone's looking for
I
flags.
was like, as soon as you answer my question, I'll stop asking you questions.
No, but I remember like looking back at the footage and being like, wow, I'm such a fucking bitch in this clip.
I know, I think I was like very earnestly asking you, like, for like, as the director
I
of the
mean, to be
game, to
fair, like it
tell
didn't
me.
actually matter why. Just like look for the flags.
No, it didn't. But like, what was my motivation in this space? If you had been like, the challenge is taking too long, we need to find the flags, I'd be like,
Yeah,
on
right.
it.
Right. Yeah, because people were like, why would I find flags if I'm
Yeah,
out?
I was like, I'm out. Like, I'm not gonna gain anything from this. I mean, I guess I
Except
could
moving along.
I could have been gaining, targeting people, whatever. But end of long story short, I was not finding many flags, and neither was
I
anyone else.
I will say, I mean, you did use it as a little opportunity to try to like build trust with Ella.
I
I
did.
mean,
I
okay,
did.
let's walk through this moment because
Hmm.
this is a really fun piece for me in the middle of the
Yeah.
challenge. We don't get a lot of like drama during challenges, so
We don't, and
um
honestly, this one should have had more drama because, but again, I think it was aided, the lack of drama is aided by the fact that we just wanted it to be over. So no one was being discerning about like whose flags they find, which is
mhm.
kind of part of the intention of the challenge is
Right.
like, if you find
Definitely.
your ally's flag, maybe just
Leave
leave it
it.
alone.
Yeah. Right.
But or like maybe you can like, if it seems like it's like sticking out or something, you could like kind of fix it. Like you like, you know, you have a some sort of like social strategy within the scope of this game. But everyone just wanted this to end. We all wanted it to end like as soon as physically possible. So I don't think that happened a lot of times. I also do want to talk before we go into the Ella conversation. Dylan finds almost all of the flags.
Yeah. How many did he find? I think he found
I
5.
didn't count them, but
I
almost
did
all of
write it
them.
down, but I think, hold on, I definitely do have it written down. He finds 4 flags,
4 flags.
and there were
Yeah.
9
And
people
two of them I
participating.
think were in, two of them were in like before the free for all too.
Right. He found
So
yours,
9.
Gabby's, Max's, and Grant's, I believe.
Yes, I think that's correct. Yeah. But anyway, so I say to Ella, like, I realize that now we're down to what, like the final 2 or 3 flags that are being hidden right now. And I say, you know, where's your flag? Because if I see it, I might just call it out, well, before I look at the name, you know. But like, since I'm out, I would be happy if you want. I think the only other person left was maybe Max at that point. I can't
When you
remember.
said that, I think it was Allie, Dylan,
Dylan
and
was one of
Ella.
them.
That's who
Yeah,
was
so I
left.
like, yeah, so I tried to, say that if I saw her flag, I wouldn't shout it out. But then she goes, I think it's fine. And
She's so sketchy.
I was like, ooh, you just said the wrong thing, girl. Like, oh God, like that is such a like red flag to me working with you that you didn't want to tell me where your flag was. Literally a red flag. So I was like, okay. And then she tells me where it is because I think she, I don't know, thought
She
better
probably
of,
realized it was like bad for her to
yeah,
be like, I don't trust you enough to tell you.
right. And so she goes, wait. And then she tells me where it is.
Well, she says
And
wait, and then she says, you swear you
right,
won't. So
right,
like she
yeah.
clearly is like really treading
Well, then
water.
that's the thing. Well, honestly, I think the worst part for me was you promise, because I was like, oh, so now I know the actual reason why you didn't want to tell me is because you didn't trust me. Like before, it
Right.
was like, I think it's fine. Like I think it's in a fine
Mm-hmm.
spot. You can like maybe like walk away from that conversation being like, oh, maybe she just is like really feels good about where she hit it, whatever. But then she said, you promise, and I was like, yeah, of
Yeah,
course I
like we're
do.
aligned.
I did
Um,
when I asked, but maybe not right now. Maybe not
and
anymore.
so it is really funny because you're like, oh, I don't know if I really trust Ella now after that. But then later in the episode, you form a final 3 with her and Zach.
Well, I never shut a door. She was immune.
You used her own words against her.
What was I supposed to do? She was immune. And I had
Yeah.
been hoping, I mean, I didn't have to do a final 3 with her, but I had been hoping to solidify an Ella, Zach, me final 3 from a very early in the game, but we had not found time to be like alone, just the 3 of us, really until this moment, I don't think. Because like we were working as the Coco Five, Ella and Gabby have their little duo happening. So it was often difficult for us 3 to be together. And yeah, so like once we were, I was like, we should really lock this down. And I thought it was a good decision, honestly, for me, to do that. Especially because she was immune, like she was guaranteed to be in the next round of the game. But
Yeah. Let's transition into this is a good segue. Ella and Gabby and their response to like Allie trying to collaborate on this vote.
yeah.
Because Allie's going up to them and like being like, I think it should be Grant, whatever. Let's work together.
Hmm.
And their response is it's not great if you want to be subtle.
Yeah. I think Ella's doing a better job
Certainly.
at it, but Gabby is talking louder and I think is setting the tone for the conversation, which is very much like, we're solidified, you're on the outside. You give us something and we'll give you something, aka like we need to hear what you're thinking before we give you any game information, because we have the upper hand. That was very much the like vibe of the conversation.
Which is true.
Yeah, which at the end of the day it is true, but it's maybe not something you want to be advertising to someone who just collaborated with us on a vote the round previous, you know.
Yeah.
I think Ella is making an effort for it to be more of a, you know, collaborative conversation, weighing the options between Max and Grant as like a group. But yeah. And I also think it's interesting because like because Gabby says, well, I think Grant's with us right now. And it's like, yes, he's with
You.
you, but maybe not the best argument to share with Allie, who very much
Yeah.
does not have a working relationship with Grant at
And
all.
Justin, just to be clear,
Yes,
Justin is
yeah,
also
Justin's
there.
there, even though he's not being addressed like
Yeah.
whatsoever in this
Well,
conversation.
another thing that Grant did, it was him, Ella, Gabby, Zach, and Justin were in a circle after the challenge. And then Grant just is like, yeah, I think we should probably just like break off into like smaller groups. Just
Yeah,
kind of like how we were during like the tribes. And
yeah,
like the only person that he kicks out is Justin, and then
yeah,
has a little meeting with a little town meeting with the coconuts, the old coconuts.
yeah. Even though I
And
also think that it would be fine for him to have had that conversation with Justin. I mean, maybe his perception was that Justin was working with Dylan and Allie, but like the only thing they say is, he just says, I want Dylan to go. Like,
yeah,
you know, I feel like Justin's
I
very
think
much a
that
free
probably would have
agent
been
at this point.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another part of that is, and this was not in the episode, Ella, after Grant says that and then like pulls everybody away, is very much pushing back against it. I remember
Yes.
it just like didn't look good filming. Like she's like moving the camera,
Uh-huh.
whatever, so that's why I cut it. But like
Yeah, she really
as
wanted
they're
Max.
walking, but no, but as they're walking
Oh.
over, Ella's like, you should not have done that. Now it looks like we're like an unbreakable bond.
Oh, pushing back against them splitting up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's true. I think the coconuts as a whole are doing a very bad job acting like we're anything other than like a solid tribal five to the end. And like,
Mm,
obviously, that's some people's intention with this alliance, but it's really not a good look for the group. Like, it's like screaming, target me, target me,
yeah.
target me.
And if like, if one of the dolls did have an idol, this could have gone really poorly for the
Definitely.
coconuts.
Definitely. Like, you have to be thinking about the contingencies. I also think that, like, it's clear who is actually riding with the five to the end based on the way people treat the dolls group.
Mm,
You know, like Grant and Gabby are speaking about it very much as like an absolute truth that this is like the way it is, because they know that we have the numbers.
right.
So, and they clearly believe 100% that those numbers are there and like they are true to those numbers. So there's no reason to look outside of them. And because like if you want to go five to the end, there's really no reason to even, you know,
Yeah.
talk strategy with the people who have the minority, you know. But
Yeah. I
obviously
mean,
there's
and
so
if
many
if the idols
variables.
didn't exist in this game, that's a perfectly good way to
Yeah,
play.
for sure.
But there's always a possibility that, some kind of twist or advantage gets played, and then now the vote's on you.
Right. The vote's
So
on you, or it's on your closest
yeah.
ally and you lose your numbers. We're back to a 50-50 split. Like there's a lot of things that can go sideways with that working mentality.
But it is interesting that Grant seems to kind of weasel his way back into people's like good graces. Do you think that's
Mhm.
just because he voted for Caroline?
I think that once he voted for Caroline, I think it became clear he was being crazy. And we, rather than like, not that we knew he was like a liability in the game, but we felt more clear that his heart was in the coconuts group. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe
Yeah.
his methods, like I think me and Gabby pretty much say that. His methods are insane and hard to follow. As Gabby said, Danny DeVito troll under the bridge energy.
Wild card. Yeah,
Like a wild card. We felt that his intentions were for us to go to five to the end. So we
right.
thought that it was more valuable to have that rather than someone who like legitimately wasn't working with us.
I also like that you said that he thinks that you're his little pets.
Oh, I did say that.
This that was a very intense conversation. The three of you were like, yeah, and
Oh,
he thinks we're his little pets, and we can just like we're just gonna follow whatever he says. Blah 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 blah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
really getting into it.
No, it got really crazy at the end. Like I said, we had no time to talk. And then
Right.
I'm hearing Max. I'm not hearing anything but Max except from Allie. And I was intentionally like fine with like, despite me and Allie working together, I was totally fine like leaving her out of this vote for like multiple reasons. I was okay with it because it would give me the upper hand in our duo, that I was more in the know on like the correct way of voting, and then it also kept us separate because like, well, we voted separately at that tribal, so we must not be working together. So it was kind of like a good idea for us to like work in our separate alliances for this vote, because the end goal, like the end result was the same. But for some reason everybody is like, everyone's telling me Grant, and I'm like, I don't know where you're hearing that from, because every coconut I've talked to has said Max to me. So finally I get to talk to Zach and Ella, and they were thinking it was going to be Grant. And then once we realized that like, oh, actually that like all of the coconuts want Max gone, we were like, okay, we have to like make sure that this happens, because we had like, this was like 5 minutes before tribal. Like this was like as we were walking to tribal.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
mean,
why we
you
were so
definitely
like,
like talk them off the ledge a little bit.
yeah, we were all kind of going crazy at this point, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But it was very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
So so that's where Grant fits in, right? Allie is kind
Yeah.
of yeah, she's really putting her foot in her mouth. She's trying, but
Uh-huh.
she's pushing a little too hard, I think.
Yeah, I think that she's definitely pushing too hard. She's not reading that people aren't picking up what she's putting down is the
Well,
issue,
yeah, and
you know?
Ella thinks that she's getting all up in her face.
Yeah. And I also said she was being pushy about Grant, which is like a bit of an exaggeration, but I
Mm-hmm.
sensed in our conversation that she was only listening to my Max suggestion just so she could counter it with like, I think it's time for Grant. You know what I mean? Like it didn't really feel like she was collaborating with me on like what I wanted to do. It felt like she was waiting to try and convince me to go for Grant, which is part of why I was like concerned about that possibility. Like I didn't want to be persuaded into voting out someone who could potentially be like an ally for me. But yeah, no, Ella's not receiving what she's saying well. I mean, I think she's obviously like exaggerating a little bit about the conversation that they have. I don't think that Allie was like pissed about it, but
Yeah.
the it's definitely not going well for Allie, because she legitimately thinks everyone she's talked to has been like somehow convinced that they're like that they should vote for Grant, which is
Even
like
though no
as
one
a
has really given her
as
any
an
indication.
observer, right? Like as an observer of the conversation, it's not really feeling at all like
No one,
I'm not.
literally no one says, yes, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, they go, actually, I don't think that we should do that.
And Allie's like, great, we're all on the same page.
Yeah, like in her confessional, she's like, guess Grant's going tonight. And then in her voting confessional, she's
Yeah.
like, bye, buddy.
Well, they
Like,
all do talk about splitting the vote. That they agreed
that's
on,
true. That's true.
but
Yeah.
it was not very clear like who was gonna
Hmm.
actually fulfill that split. Like
Right. Like, who's voting for
at
who?
no point was there a discussion like, all right, so you vote for Max, you vote for Grant, you vote for Max, you vote, whatever.
Yeah. Like numbers
So
and
it's just
breakdown.
interesting, like where were the numbers gonna come from? Were you just gonna trust
Right.
that the coconuts like we're gonna figure it out on their own?
Right. Like, I'm really am curious, like, what she thought, because obviously she thought that her, Max, Justin, and Dylan were voting for Grant, but I guess I was going to vote for Grant. And then I don't
Right,
know.
sure.
Like,
I guess so.
I guess that makes it, but again, we didn't talk past that one conversation.
Yeah.
So, like, she must have felt secure, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I guess she was like, at least one more person will vote for Grant, probably. you know.
Yeah. I don't
And
know.
they
It's
almost
it's hard
did.
to
They
say.
almost did. I mean, like Zach and Ella were kind of maybe going to, I guess. I don't
Yeah, it
know.
did almost work.
So,
That's true.
yeah.
I'm I am curious if there's any, I mean obviously you have a very unique perspective that maybe the other coconuts don't, but is
Mhm.
there a world where Dylan makes more sense here? Because it seems like Max is on board. Um,
Mhm.
like that's what Grant wants, clearly. Like
Mhm.
he's been trying to get him out since the last, or yeah, 2 votes ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually do think that Dylan would be a good person to go here because he, as we've discussed, is like potential to be a challenge threat, especially in the individual challenges, which tend to be a bit more endurance based. That's kind of his forte. So I think that he from like from in-game perspective seemed like he was, well situated, well enough situated that it would be like not a wasted vote to get rid of him or anything. I also think that like Allie's point about Max having no one right now and having been on the outside of the vote and losing his number one ally does make him a good person to try and forge a relationship with, especially for someone like Grant who has like a close relationship with him in like outside of the game. Like it would make a lot of sense for him to try and now foster that into like a game relationship. But yeah, there's no way in which the Dylan going is the best move for me, so it is hard for me
Yeah.
to,
I because the only person
yeah.
who would be mad at that would be Allie.
Yeah, and
And
then
like
that totally
obviously for
screws
you, it
my,
doesn't make sense.
yeah, if I had like blindsided Allie with a Dylan vote, I think that our working relationship legitimately ends right there and then.
Yeah. But for someone like Ella and Gabby and Grant, obviously, I think it does probably make more sense to get Dylan out.
Yeah, I
Even
actually
if
think
even
it,
if Max does have an idol, I don't know,
mhm.
like how much
Yeah,
damage is he really gonna do here?
for sure. I actually do think that that's true because I also think people are currently underestimating Allie's gameplay, and Dylan is quite instrumental in that gameplay. Because Allie has like 100% say pretty much over what Dylan does, it seems, at this point. So if people were trying to disable Allie, getting rid of Dylan would be a good way to go.
Yeah. But then obviously there's the other major factor in Max going, which is that he's admitted that he might tap out of the game.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about that because my takeaway from that conversation was I think different than what he had meant in the moment. I thought that he wanted to like quit the game, like fully leave the game.
That's what I would have
And
assumed as well from that.
yeah, because he said I might tap out. So I was like, oh, so you're gonna be like done. And then I was like, I was of course concerned about the logistics of like the game you had planned. So I didn't want us to like lose somebody not through game means because it would like eliminate like whatever, like a challenge. We would have to like skip a challenge or something. I don't know what would happen. But I
We
was
did
really
it. We
concerned.
peek behind the curtain. We did actually have to skip a challenge, but
Oh,
that's
yeah.
besides the point. We were running a
Yeah.
little behind.
Of course, of course.
Like
But yeah, so
next episode, is when that happens. But
oh right, yes. I sorry,
we
I
can talk about
remember.
that more when we get there.
Yeah, I do actually remember talking about this. But the I was worried that we would vote out someone like Dylan and then he quits next round and then we're
Right.
down two people, then we should really only be down one. But so I was like, well, I'm willing to just vote. Honestly, game aside, I'm willing to just vote for you so that you leave from by like legitimate means and this doesn't fuck up the like, cycle that we have going on. But I think his intention was more that he would just sit out of the challenges and forfeit immunity was what he had talked to you about, right?
Um, yes, sort of. Yeah, in earlier in the morning, he had like raised concern that his like bronchitis had been acting up
Mm-hmm.
from the previous day and the wildfires that had just occurred. And he like didn't have the proper like meds to circumvent
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't remember exactly what was said. I mean, it was a while ago now, so but I think he like asked if he could not do challenges or something, and I was like, I mean, we can like take it on a case by case basis, I think is what was said. And
Right.
like there
Like
are
if it's
definitely
physical, like you can
right,
sit
like
out, yeah.
there, yeah. But I think he actually was asking about leaving the game. And I think I suggested
You
uh
sit out of the challenges.
yeah, I think that is what happened. Because
Yeah,
I was like,
he
right,
did
sorry,
tell
go
me
ahead.
he talked to you. He like after that after I say, so should we just vote for you so that like you can leave the game, he like told me, I was like, and then I said like, I don't think it's in that footage because it's like talking about production, but I was like, I don't think that Kay like has like I just don't want to mess up with like Kay's thing. And he was like, well, I talked to Kay, and I was like, and she said she was okay with you quitting. Like I was like really confused. I was like, there's no way she would say that. Like, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah, but I was confused. I thought that
But I
he like
think
was
he
just
did
gonna
kind of
quit.
also, I think he did kind of want to quit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like a misunderstanding.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't, whatever. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
actually really matter, but
Yeah.
based on what I remember from our conversation, that is kind of what it was. But I was like,
So
well, don't give up. Like there's a lot you can do even if you don't win any
right.
challenge, you know?
I
Like
guess maybe
this
he
game
walked
is not
away.
about challenge
Mhm.
wins, you
It's
know?
definitely not. I also, so I guess he like
And
left
then
your
he won the next
conversation.
challenge.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
a peek behind the curtain again. That confessional of him talking about the wildfires is in the morning.
Right. So
Like
before the
it's before
challenge.
he even won the
Yeah.
challenge. He said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. He won a physical challenge off the bat.
Yeah.
But then he was like, well, then I guess he's just feeling like worn on the game at that point because he's not even like, it's not even like the flag. I guess the flag challenge ended up being physical because we ended up running around for like an
Yeah.
hour. But like
But
it wasn't
again,
in
he could have just not participated. It would have
not
been fine.
participated, yeah. But yeah, so I wonder if his takeaway from your conversation was like, cool, just quit. Because he told me you were fine with it. I was like, I don't like,
Yeah.
sure, obviously things are out of people's control and you can't like stop him from quitting if he's gonna quit. But I didn't
Mhm.
think there was any world in which you were like, well, yeah, if you have to quit, just quit and don't worry about the game cycle at all. Just quit in the middle of a round and that's totally gonna be fine for everything, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And it's not
For
gonna
sure.
impact me or the game that I planned in any way if you do that. So
Mhm. And you were like, "Well, I guess I'll just vote you out now."
well, and I don't think that that had a ton of bearing on my decision, but it definitely didn't
Yeah.
make me feel that bad about it
Well,
because I
I
was like,
mean,
he's gonna
Grant
quit
says it
anyway.
too
Yeah,
in his like voting confessional.
yeah,
He's like, I know you're not feeling very well, so I
yeah,
hope you get some rest."
yeah. I mean, I think it's good that he didn't have to keep participating for his own sake. Like at the end of the day, so I guess it
Yeah.
worked out. It's easy to feel less bad about voting for someone when they have expressed that they're thinking about quitting the game.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, you don't really have that moral dilemma anymore about it.
Yeah. I also just sorry, I was thinking about tribal that blames you for in after he gets voted if he get voted out.
Yeah, he
He's
says,
like,
I
"Well,
know
I know that bitch Jess voted for me, snake ass.
you sneaky ass bitch.
You snaky
Yeah,
ass bitch."
yeah. I
And I
mean,
think
he's
he
not
was just
wrong.
kind of maybe playing it up for the camera, but
Yeah,
I did think that was interesting that he
yeah.
like
I mean,
just called you out.
he's not really wrong. I do feel like I was like, I mean, Ella too was really big on Max. I think the two of us were the most vocal about him over anyone else. Um, for our own individual reasons, really. But yeah, I mean, I can't really fault him. I did vote for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else that tribal you want to talk about?
Well, I do want to talk about the jury management
Mm,
conversation that we encounter. I think it's interesting that this is being discussed in like a public forum kind of way. It's clear that some people haven't like really been necessarily thinking about jury management.
yeah.
Like it's a
And then
very
I think about like the interactions between like Gabby and Allie, like something like that.
mhm,
Like that could have like a lot of if
definitely
you don't feel like you're even being heard, like
for sure.
do I want to give my vote to someone who doesn't like respect me?
For sure. And everyone likes to think that they'll be like some objective strategy like
Mhm.
voter who like is like, oh, I'm gonna play for who played the best game regardless, like even if I was like hurt in the process. Like everyone wants to think that. But a lot of times that ends up not being the case. Like people can be bitter on the jury. Like it's very easy for people to be bitter on the jury, especially especially with like your close friends. It can either be people are either able to like detach completely because it's like, these are my friends, I don't really care who wins, like I have
Mm-hmm.
no hard feelings, or they feel extra betrayed because like we are all friends. It really can go either way, because this is like totally different from regular Survivor. Like playing with strangers is like a very different game, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, people are human.
Hmm.
You know, the way that you like, talk to people is gonna like have an impact on the way they feel, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So, that it is interesting. The other part I wanted to talk about was just Grant being so like, yeah, trust isn't really much of an issue for me personally.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like I trust everyone trusts me. Like my core, like no one has like not trusted me for 1 second.
I'm also like, I just can't believe people feel so comfortably talking about like feeling like them feeling comfortable and like completely like blatantly hinting at like the alliance that everyone knows exists. I understand that everyone probably like knows it's happening, but I think people are assuming that they know it's happening to a greater extent than maybe they do. Because I don't think that people were like necessarily 1,000,000% banking on the coconuts being a strong five. But like after this episode, they should be, because like the way people are talking about it is like, yeah, this is a five to the end. And there's no if, ands, or buts about it. And obviously people can do their individual like conversations that like counteract that, but that's not gonna stop like people from being like, well, Gabby's all in on this, Grant's all in on this, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
I
I
think
was like,
this is a probably a good spot to bring Max in and see
mhm,
what he's feeling.
yeah.
So stay tuned. Hi, Max. Can I ask you
Hello.
where are you where are you located this
Um,
evening?
in the middle of the blind tag game that we
So
did.
you're still out there.
Yeah, never left.
Gotcha. We did have concerns that if you had recovered from your bronchitis.
Never.
No?
I mean, I'm much better now. Yeah. Hopefully after a year, I'm good now.
We
So
didn't
Yeah.
know if, well, we haven't heard from you since, so we were concerned.
Yeah, right.
yeah,
We haven't
I need to
spoken.
catch my breath for like a little bit, but I'm okay.
About
Well,
your
I'm
hair
glad that
now.
you're enjoying the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
This
Very
is really
appreciated.
great. I love this photo so much.
I looked so funny. It was
This
me.
challenge needs to come back.
No, I don't ever
Tyler,
want to do it again.
you especially need to be playing this.
I'm just
Well,
happy I didn't run into a fence.
Yeah,
who's to
that's
say you'll get
true.
the chance?
Hmm.
All right. Let's get down to business, shall we?
Yes.
To defeat the Huns. Let's just talk about you. This is your first time playing. You made jury, so congratulations, on that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what was your strategy like going in? Do you feel like you were successful in that?
Honestly, I didn't really have a strategy. Um, I think I was just there to have a good time, and that did kind of bite me in the ass because
Mm,
I think what I noticed from the old players versus the new people like me was that the old people, the minute things were going, they were gaming. They were making plans, they were setting alliances, and I'm just like, oh, what a fun time we're having.
You gotta be serious in these
Hmm.
times. It's because we were like so time constrained last time that I think we were like overcompensating and like
yeah.
doing so much gaming.
Hmm.
Especially day two, people were a little manic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you were chilled out, laid back. But it sounds like you were successful in your objective. You had a good time,
I did have
right?
a good time, and I was just thankful to make it to jury.
And
So,
you had such a good time that you're still there.
yeah, you just can't get me away from it.
Except you have there's like a clone of you behind. I don't know if you see him.
Oh, and
Who are
I'm
you
also
talking about?
here and I'm also there.
Well, we don't know who
that's
that
that's just a
is.
copy of you from
Oh,
like
we
a
don't
year
know who that
ago.
is?
That's
Okay.
that's a cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very nice. So we see you form like a bond with Caroline and Santino.
Yeah.
However, they go out one after another, right?
Yeah.
How did that affect your mentality in the game at this point?
Well, I think at the time I thought I was still chill with Allie.
Mhm,
Um, so I didn't feel that particularly bad about it. Like obviously Caroline was the more like aggressive of the two of us. So to not have somebody who's like constantly making plans
mhm,
was definitely not working in my favor. And also the fact that like by this point in the game, I was just like physically exhausted
mhm.
from like all the running we've been doing, like lack of sleep, my bronchitis. It was just not a good time for me at that
Yeah,
point. So I know like at that time I was like I didn't want to stop, but at the same time I was like if it happens, I'm not going to be that upset about it because I need to rest.
right.
So,
Gotcha. So there was like a part of you that was happy that your
yes.
time was done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cuz I didn't want to just be like I quit. I wanted to felt like I like um at least made it as far as I could have. And
Mhm.
that's what happened. So,
Yeah.
worked
Right.
out.
Was there a part of you that was like still like trying to fight to be in?
I mean, I think so. Like I wasn't like even when I was telling like Jess and Grant that like I wasn't feeling super great and they were like, "Oh, should we just vote you out or whatever?" And I was like, "No, no, I don't want to just like be
Right.
voted out just because I'm not feeling great." Like
Right.
so that's kind of what happened with like Surat. So I didn't want like the exact
Mm,
same thing to happen to me. So, yeah.
right. I'm curious if because you said that like you think that you still had trust with Allie at this point.
Mhm.
Because everyone else is you don't really trust right now, right? Or you don't feel like you have a good relationship with.
Well,
Do you
yeah, I felt like I couldn't trust the coconuts like even a little bit, which I
yeah, do you
was
think that
100% correct about.
that's true? Do you think that you could have done anything different to like build bonds
Hmm.
past just your tribe?
Yeah, probably once the merge happened, I could have like, attempted to like try and incorporate better. Like, yeah, there like was like maybe a few opportunities before the merge, but since the camps are separate, there's not a ton of you can't really interact all that much
Right.
besides like during challenges. So it was difficult to really like get close at all.
Mhm.
So, and
Yeah,
it
I
very
mean we
much
definitely sorry, go ahead.
and it just very much felt that the coconuts had a very strong like unity going on, at least from the doll's perspective.
Mhm.
So it also felt like, oh, I can't really encroach on that even a little bit. Like it would have been
Mhm.
extremely difficult to even put the foot in the door. So like I kind of just didn't try.
Yeah. That's fair. I think that like we talked about before you came on, like I think that the coconuts are selling themselves as like a very impenetrable fortress. So I think that's like a fair assumption to make about them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
and
like,
we
oh,
sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, and like I already had like the preconception in my brain about like Jess and like Jess's like big alliance she had going on. And like I was pretty right about that, but I mean I didn't know the full extent of like how deep the web she spun went. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do try to get something going with Grant, but I
Hmm.
don't
I
know. I
was
don't know if he
trying, Grant
I don't know
wasn't
if he was
having
the
it.
right I don't know if he was the right one to do
No,
it with.
he was
Yeah.
too desperate to get in. So
He
Okay,
honestly didn't sorry. He honestly didn't want you like clearly like he wanted Dylan, but I don't know if he wanted that because he wanted to work with you. I think it was just that he wanted Dylan gone more. Like I don't think he had any
probably, yeah.
intention of working with anyone besides the five of us.
I think
Yeah.
he was just having fun being a little mischievous. I
A
don't
little
know if there
schemer.
was yeah, he It's a big word, Max.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to throw out the schemer
Fighting
allegation.
words.
Don't say that. He doesn't like that.
Mischief maker. How about that?
Mischief maker. Yeah. But okay. Last episode, really big fight with you guys, you and Caroline with Grant.
Yeah,
I
that
mean, do you
was.
want to speak on that?
It just felt very much that Grant was trying to get as much of that whole agreement out of it as possible while giving absolutely nothing to us. And when we brought that up, he was acting like we were dumb for thinking so. And I was just like, no, why would we take that at all? Like, why would we throw Dylan under the bus like that? Like, it just made zero sense. So,
Yeah.
and then I was just, and then he was like pretending like Caroline was like manipulating me or whatever. That was funny. I was like, no, you were just stupid. Like, I didn't see your point of view at all.
I like when you take the fan. I don't know if you watched episode 5 before this, but you take the fan and you go to his idol, you go, put that away.
Put that away.
That we're not talking about this.
The fan was a paid actor. No one else got
Yeah.
paid, but the fan was.
She
The
will
whole
make her
season.
return, don't worry.
Wow.
Oh.
Maybe a new fan, but fan part 2.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
We need some new meat, you know.
That
Fresh
is
meat.
true.
Yeah. So
Other fan was too expensive for costs.
Yeah, that is true.
We got a downgrade.
yeah. Something else that's interesting is we talked about jury management in this episode as well. With the way that like Grant dealt with you and Caroline, like how do you think that a player playing like that could be affected by the jury management of it all?
Well, definitely if like Grant were to have say made it to the final 2 and we had to vote between him and whoever else made it, like I'm spiteful. I would not have voted for him. Like not everyone appreciates the game. I take things to heart. So
Some people are petty.
Some people are
that
petty.
person is me.
And you
So,
need to know who the petty ones are and not to fuck with them.
Yep.
And Grant was not one of the petty ones. So
yeah. So I think my last question for you before we get into episode MVP and silly goose of the day, is just if you were to play, if you get a second chance, what objective are you coming in with?
I would say definitely work harder on forming bonds outside of my tribe for sure. And even the bonds in my tribe to better recognize what they've got going on. Because Ali very much played me a fool. So
I will say also that like you were like that first merge round was crazy, and like you just like I genuinely don't think you had like any time to talk to anyone besides your tribe, so
yeah,
you can't really be blamed too much for that. Honestly.
And Grant took up a lot of your time.
Yeah,
he sure fucking did.
Yeah.
Between him trying to play me with the fake immunity idol and then the whole conversation with Caroline, that took a lot of time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, so I think now we're going to transition into our episode MVP. It was a tricky episode. I don't know if anyone was a big standout, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Max. Did you pre-select someone?
Kind of. It's very difficult.
Okay.
A lot of plays were being made. Jess was definitely trying to figure out who was being voted for, and Allie was also trying to do her own thing, like, no, don't vote for Max. We need to get Grant. Like that was the whole back and forth going on, which what was why the vote was so close. So I feel like the MVP probably would have to go to Jess for working through all that talking and ultimately getting the outcome that you wanted. So
Jess, you have thoughts?
I didn't pick anybody because I felt like everyone was kind of being crazy a little bit. But But I guess, yeah, I would probably have to go with me if I had to choose.
Wow.
Which I don't love to do that, but I think that like I had benefited the most from this vote. It was the vote I was pushing for the whole episode, and it happened. So I think that was more. And I did, for the same reasons, I did actually mention Ella in this episode, but I think she also kind of screws herself socially here. So I think that takes her down a notch,
Yeah.
even though she also was the #1 shooter against Max and won immunity. And again, the vote ended up happening the way she wanted it to. She has a lot of maybe not so great conversations with people in this episode. So
Yeah, I struggled with the same thing while picking. I did consider Ella, but for the same reasons that you've said, especially her like being blatantly untrusting of you when you ask about her flag. That's really not a good look for someone you're supposed to be aligned with. I mean, the way her conversation with Allie is, it's like, it's probably not amazing that you're not even pretending to be open with her, but like at the end of the day, like, does it really matter? Like, that didn't really bother me too much. She definitely does have a lot of agency here, and I do want to give her credit for that. But I do think that Jess is probably has the best outcome for her game moving forward with this.
Yeah.
Because you were not ever gonna work with her, I don't think.
Yeah. I think that is what it comes down to for me. And I, being the person who was talked to by Ella in the flag challenge, that was a huge knock against her, because I really did stop trusting her like almost completely in that conversation. So
yeah, and obviously, like, Grant would have been bad for you to get rid of because you know he trusts you. Dylan would have been bad for you to get rid of because you want to keep Allie in your pocket. So I think you are the episode MVP once again, and we're rolling out the disco ball. Congratulations. It's a little bit of a lame episode.
I was gonna say, it's like among a
congratulations.
bunch of crazy people, I'm maybe the one that made out the best.
Yeah,
but...
it's not a strong entry. It's not a strong entry, but you were the best of the mid.
Yes.
So
very
congratulations.
True, very true. Thank you.
And now for my favorite part, silly goose of the day.
Oh yeah,
we have a couple of silly geese.
I was gonna say, I had a few options here. I'm not ready to say one name, so let's talk about it.
Max, did you pick one goose, one silly goose?
I'm caught between two silly gooses.
Okay. Let's just talk about it.
So one is Ella, purely because of during the challenge where she's like by the tent where her flag is in, she's like, "Oh, nothing's in here. I'm so frustrated."
We didn't even talk about that.
I know.
Her
was
bluffing
gonna mention it.
Is so funny because she is her flag is where she's searching. I honestly think that's brilliant.
It is a really good idea, but
because I knew where her flag is.
Because you know what I knew where it was, I was like witnessing her fake searching the whole time.
She's like, "Oh, there's nothing here." For me,
oh gosh,
honestly,
why can't I find these flags?
After talking about that, maybe she's actually episode MVP for me. That's a win for me. But is that the only reason that she was a silly goose to you?
I mean, other than her being silly for wanting me gone, but that's a different kind of silly goose.
Right. Okay.
And
what was your other option?
My other is Mo in the after in the little ending bit of the episode.
Oh my god, I wasn't even considering Mo, but so true. But so true.
That was pretty silly goose of him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
So
him and Justin having their little moment was so funny in the end.
So I'm caught between Mo being the sleeper winner.
Wow.
And Ella being on screen silly. So
I didn't even think about that. All right. Jessica, where's your head at?
Okay. I was thinking a little bit more silly within the scope of the strategy. So the people that I chose reflect that a little bit. My first person I said was Gabby, because she is like talking to Allie like so obviously like she's not working with her and like not even bothering to like cover it up at all, cover up the Coconuts 5 at all. So I just thought that that was funny that she's like, you know, I don't just like playing the game right out in the open, and I thought that was silly. And then I also said Allie as silly goose of the day because she is convinced that she has masterminded the Grant vote 100% by the time she gets to trial, which I thought was funny of her.
Yeah. Yeah, I also struggled with this one. Gabby was one that I said because of what has been stated already. Ella, in consideration for my MVP and silly goose,
And that's valid.
and mostly because of the flag thing.
Mhm.
But I think I'm probably not gonna go with her just because she did like a pretty good job
Yeah,
relatively in the episode.
Yeah.
And then Allie is one that I said. I just feel like no one was reciprocating what she was putting down like at all, and she was so confident that
Yeah.
that Grant was going, and I'm just like,
Right.
where are you reading this?
Right, like she was like gasped.
Like,
at
are the Grant votes in the room with us?
She gasped at the vote read as if it wasn't like every conversation she had with people was like, I don't think we should go Grant.
Like, Gabby could not be more obvious. She's like, no, I'm not doing that.
And that's why I think that they are the silly gooses almost together, because that conversation between the two of them where Gabby is being so obvious that she's not working with Allie is pretty much just like, you need to give us information because we have the upper hand on you, like whatever. And then Allie leaving that conversation and being like, yeah, went great.
But at least Gabby like does have the upper hand, and and she, in her conversation with you, she at least has like a good picture of like where the alliance is, and like
that's true.
We'll keep Grant here for now because he's with us. Max can just go because he doesn't really help my game, and we'll tell Allie whatever she wants to hear, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That was a good conversation with Gabby. So yeah, I guess I would be more inclined to give it to Allie over the sheer like silliness, for lack of a better word, of her like thinking that it was gonna go her way based on the conversations that we all watched that don't seem to give that impression.
Yeah. Max, are you cool with that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Honorable mention for Mo, but we can't give it to him because he's not in the game. But
extremely honorable mention for Mo.
He's the silly goose of our hearts.
I mean, maybe more like icon of the day.
Wow. That's true.
Icon.
Production member icon.
Yeah, because it was pretty inspirational, the quotes that he was saying.
Mm-hmm. And I think he really helped us find those flags at the end of the day.
Yeah. Truth belongs to those who seek it. And then you found the truth.
I do think that those clips at the end more encapsulate the free-for-all portion of the day rather than the edited footage in the challenge, which was just a lot of us silently walking around.
Yeah.
And complaining about how we haven't found anything.
At one point I was just like, I'm done. I'm tired.
Yeah, I think you fully just sat down.
Yeah, I fully sat down. Because I was like, I already lost. Like, they found my flag.
That's what
Justin's
I said
like, I'm seeking.
Well, I looked around for a bit and then I just got
it got to a point where I literally like had to be like, all right, I like walked in a circle and was like, it's within this much space. Fine, it's on this side. Like just find it, please.
So
it was pretty horrible. But okay, the ceremony does need to be official, obviously.
So true.
And the silly goose of the day belongs to Allie.
I also, for more context, she did get episode MVP last episode, so fall from duality. You need to get you a girl who can do both.
I think by the end of a season, you should strive to have one episode MVP and then a silly goose of the day award.
Of course, those are the two awards that we give, and you want both of them.
Yeah, it's like how Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for The Blind Side, and then in the same year won a Razzie.
Exactly.
For All About Steve, I think the movie was called. Yeah,
versatility,
and she took it with pride.
Yeah.
So good for her. Good for Allie. And
For
good,
both those awards under her belt.
yeah, exactly. So thank you, Max, for being here. It was really great to talk to you, and I'm glad that
Yeah.
you're doing better and you're still enjoying nature.
Oh yeah. Great outdoors.
Incredible. For by the time this comes out, our Survivor 46 season overview will be out. So if you have watched the season, a crazy season, check that out. We're gonna have some insight from the ma'ams, me, Jess, and Frankie. So look out for that. And without further ado, ma'ams are signing off.